Welcome to the session, Mobile Before Web, Hyper Reality. It gives me great pleasure to invite Pragati Rai, who's the moderator of this session. Pragati is the chief evangelist for eBay, chief technology evangelist. She has an experience in the mobile world for a little over 13 years, and she is also an author of a book which is about security issues on the Android side of mobile. So over to you, Pragati.
Thanks, Sachin, for the gracious introduction. Welcome, everybody. The focus of this session is to understand if the Indian ecosystem is ready for a mobile-first company. What are the challenges that our startups face today, how to deal with those, what strategy they should have, and is there really money to be made out of a mobile-first company? We have an esteemed panel of experts here, and I'll let them introduce themselves. Venki, would you like to go first?
Should I use this mic?
Yeah.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Venkateshwaran. I'm the CTO at Persistent Systems. As most of you may know, Persistent Systems is a leading technology and product engineering services provider. We provide these services to most software product companies, both large and small. An interesting fact is that 70% of our customer base is early stage and startup companies in the startup phase. Our primary focus in the last few years has been centered around the SMAC stack, which is the social, mobile, analytics, and cloud computing areas. More recently, our board has approved has set aside some cash for funding innovative ideas. So we look forward to, we have set up a process to collect ideas and see if there are some things that are worth investing in. Will help take those products to the market.
Hi, my name is Sharat. I'm a co-founder and CEO of a mobile startup called Mobstack. What Mobstack essentially is a mobile cloud, a mobile publishing platform. We help publishers and businesses build mobile sites, responsive sites, and mobile apps in a very, very seamless manner. We are what is called a fully baked cloud platform. That means we come already integrated with CDNs, advertising networks, enterprise ad servers, etc., etc. So some of the large media houses in the country, like the Hindu, the Deccan Herald, some of the Times Group, properties, etc., run on Mobstack's backend to deliver their mobile experiences across the world using our platform.
Hi guys, my name is Vikram Vaidyanathan. I lead mobile investments for a venture capital fund called Matrix Partners. We're a $600 million fund focused on making investments in India. We are one of the few funds which actually separates our mobile investing strategy from a PC investing strategy. So we do like to take mobile first bets and believe in making them. We have 5 portfolio companies already which actually do that. Happy to share learnings and very excited about the space.
Hi, my name is Bipin, and I run a company called MobiQuick, which is I run a company called MobiQuick, which is India's largest mobile wallet as of now, with millions of users and millions of dollars of mobile payment processing every month. We recently launched our wallet, and we are getting new merchants on board. The basic idea is very simple. We want to enable every single Indian smartphone user to be able to pay using their phone, whether it is an app or a mobile website or any other channel.
Well, thank you, panelists. So, as you can see, we have a really good mix of investors, entrepreneurs, and we'll take the questions towards the end of the session. If you have questions, you can also reach out to us on our Twitter handle, which is MPC2013. We'll be taking questions there as well. So, Sharat, I'd like to kick off the panel with you. What do you think? Is the Indian ecosystem ready for a mobile-first company?
I think I would say cautiously optimistic. The reason I say that is India has a huge number of mobile users. I think a fraction of them have started using mobile, but that fraction is still small but growing. And there is some traction on the front that they actually are doing things other than social media, which is Facebook, etc. But I think the largest challenge that remains, and it's not just with respect to India, I think it's globally, is that monetization is still broken, if I may say that. Monetization channels have not really been figured out. So if you're looking at building a mobile first product catered towards India, or I think it's still a bit of a stretch, in my opinion, until or unless you're sure that all you want is downloads and you're able to fund the startup for the next 24 months and hope that those downloads will help you raise more money.
Okay, so Vikram, what do you have to say about Sharat's cautious approach there?
So I understand where Sharat is coming from. From my perspective, where we are sitting, we are very bullish that mobile-first companies will exist, and it's the right time to start exploring some of these ideas. That being said, I think the number one thing needed to start a mobile-first company is for the person starting it to say, I actually don't care about a world where there are PCs, right? I actually care about a world where there is only mobiles. And you start with that. So as a founder, as an entrepreneur, you have to say, that's what's in my core. And if you start with that, then you actually start revisiting everything about the company, right? Whether it is user experience, you start making those choices saying, this is my user, and I say, this is the user experience, this is the product, this is the way I acquire that user, and this is the way I monetize. Right? I completely hear Sharat on monetization. I would agree that it's a challenge. I think if you do customer acquisition right, you will be able to make monetization choices early on, which keep you going for the first 12 months, if not 24, but first 12 months, and then your real market will really open up.
Thanks, Vikram, for that. And you mentioned that about the challenges that a mobile-first company faces. Venki, you work with a lot of startups. What is your take on some of the challenges that they face if they want to launch a mobile-first company?
If you look at today, the way mobile apps or whatever are being developed, people develop them. Yes, I mean, let's look at the the market first. Consumer apps, definitely there are a lot of avenues available for people to build their apps and get it uploaded onto the various app stores. But when you look at an enterprise apps today, the CIOs of enterprises who are kind of blessing these apps are really a fairly harried lot of people. I mean, there are a lot of challenges. They are always under the pressure of cutting costs, and then there is this whole trend of people bringing in their own mobile devices and so on. So before we look at mobile first, let's just shift the context a little bit and see, what is a CIO really looking for when they look at these mobile apps? And that would probably, help the entrepreneurs and the mobile developers to really think at this problem from the user standpoint. So today the CIO is looking at when they get a mobile app developed by various application providers, they need to have access to the enterprise systems. So they need access to the ERP, the CRM, the SCMs, and so on. And each app kind of creates these data paths, so to speak, from the app to these systems independently, with no reuse or anything that is happening. So for the CIO, the challenge is that once today, okay, there may be 5, then tomorrow there will be 50, and then 500, and so on. The CIO's time is spent predominantly in managing and monitoring and maintaining these apps, figuring out who's downloading what and how is that app getting used, and so on and so forth. So the way I see this challenge getting addressed is to start from what we call as a middle layer. So the CIO kind of defines what the enterprise data is available. Let the CIO first make these data or the systems available through a standardized set of APIs. There are a lot of API management platforms available today, Apona, APG, WSO2, Layer 7, to name a few. And these are through which these APIs can be exposed. And once the APIs are exposed, then the mobile community can start building their apps towards these APIs. Now that would kind of help these apps to get a wider footprint in terms of addressing multiple enterprises, and then creating a fairly larger, they can then start addressing the challenges of commonalities across multiple enterprises. That helps them to get a better footprint, better monetization if these apps become popular. Otherwise, from a CIO standpoint, it's a big challenge. So the I would really caution all the guys who are getting into the mobile first arena to really first watch out or try to understand what the CIO is trying to solve, what are their employees looking for, and then once they have an understanding of that, develop the mobile app in line with the CIO's expectations, so that there is a level of acceptability of that application in the enterprises.
Thanks, Venki. Bipin, you are an entrepreneur yourself, having started two mobile-first companies. What's your take on it? What are the challenges that you faced when you started these companies?
So, like somebody should look at the figures that are out there right now in terms of the number of internet users, and then you look at the number of smartphone users, right? I don't think anybody in this room or anywhere has any doubt that India itself is going to be a mobile first country, whether we like it or not. And these mobiles are going to be smartphones, right? I mean, 3 years from today, everybody talks about e-commerce. I think 3 years from now, you will not talk about e-commerce. You'll be talking about m-commerce. And the traffic is rising, the transactions are rising, and we ourselves are actually very big example of that company. We started as a web-first company 4 years ago, and last year we launched our Android app, right? Okay. And then followed it with our iPhone app, and now we're launching apps for tablets. I think the key thing that we solved, and which I think everybody who's looking to start a mobile-first company needs to look at is, what is the use case? Let's not get too much influenced by the models that have existed in the West, right? Where I think Rajan and other people were talking about revenue-less models. I mean, where you could create a Facebook or a WhatsApp or a Snapchat, with millions of dollars funding. That's not going to happen in India. In India, you need a monetization from zero, right? Having said that, there are so many use cases which are unsolved on mobile, especially on smartphones. And the one trend that I have noticed, and I'm clearly noticing, is that on mobile, it is not necessary that the existing leaders will dominate. So that's a huge opportunity. The Flipkarts or the Snapdeals or whoever are the leaders, or the Book My Shows in the movie space, in mobile, there is an opportunity today to create everything from scratch for each of these verticals and become a market leader. And when you look at web versus mobile, the way I think, at least I would encourage entrepreneurs to think is that, there's this famous saying, are you going to skate where the puck is, or are you going to skate where the puck is going? And the puck is clearly going to the smartphone way. We have 5,000 rupees smartphones available today. Right, from the likes of Samsung, and Micromax is now going to overtake Samsung in terms of market share, and their sales of smartphones are soaring every month over month. This is clearly a market where a lot of innovation can happen, and we ourselves have seen our mobile revenues, for example, cross 50% of our total revenue in the last 1 year, right? Whereas we actually started as a web-first company. And the other thing to look at is in terms of users also. If you're building a consumer product, every single smartphone user you acquire is worth his weight in gold, compared to, let's say a web user who will go back to Google and, search for other things. Once you get your app installed in the real estate, that's the key, according to me.
Thank you very much, Bipin.
then you that you have some SMS, you have some voice presence, you even have to have some US presence. These consumer, right? Because today the smart, but he's not giving up on SMS. He's not giving. So if you're going mobile first, those are mediums that you need to address definitely in the next 12 to 18 months. I'm not even sure that they ever go away. I see the second thing is to then figure out what do I really develop to actually go after that mobile first consumer. I understand how Bipin and MovieQuick, they've gone after it in an app based way, and there are good reasons why they've done that. There are mobile gaming companies in the room who are making this in an app based way. But if you're saying there are people who consume, there are people who do just interactions, and then there are people who do transactions. You actually don't need an app for everything. You might just need an M site, you might need a good call center, and you might need a good SMS channel, and that's a mobile company. You might not need an app. A lot of people today I see saying, mobile company, let me start building an app.
Yeah.
That's actually not needed at all. So I would just say, if you're doing mobile first, do it, but really understand that this is what I'm going to do in the 12 to 18 months, which is keeping pace with my user on what they're doing in terms of access, and then develop in a very smart way so that your costs are really low.
Thanks, Vikram. So we have a lot of entrepreneurs in the room who actually started off with a web-based product, and now they want to move on to a mobile product, and vice versa. Sharat, what do you think they should be focusing on to make this transition a successful one?
So Mobstack works with a lot of businesses who are web first or have been offline and are now kind of waking up to the whole idea of mobile and what they should be doing on mobile. So if you're a business, if you're a mobile business trying to basically trying to reach out to businesses to convince them to go mobile, there are a couple of things that you should keep in mind. First, I think the most important thing is that most businesses look at web and look at mobile as just a small screen compared to the web. So they just take their existing business and think they somehow have to retroactively fit this into a smaller screen. Mobile is completely a new interaction paradigm. The way you design for it, the way people interact with it, and also mobile is not just one unified device, right? There are over 4,000, 5,000 different devices. There's the whole idea of creating a mobile site. There's the whole idea of creating a mobile app. If you're talking about mobile apps, then you have to worry about whether it's an Android, which is an iOS, or a BlackBerry or a Windows. And then you throw tablets into the mix, it gets a lot more complicated. So to be able to cater to this complication is very, very difficult. Second, most businesses don't understand this very well. So if you're a person, I at Mobstack, we've experienced this difficulty in trying to understand what businesses want, because most of them are just trying to somehow fit it in. The third thing is also that with respect to, again, going back to the earlier point that I made with respect to monetization, that really has not kicked in yet, and that's just not an India specific problem, that's a global problem. So if you're a business, you're trying to do some kind of an ROI, I think the example that Bipin gave, I would say is very rare. It's the very few people who've been able to crack it, and but most of the people are still struggling with it, and that's one of the reasons why people are not ready to invest enough into mobile strategy, mobile platform, etc. And if you don't invest enough, odds are you will not get the kind of traction that you want. And if you don't get the kind of traction, you will not make that much money. So it's some kind of an egg and chicken situation. Having said that, we've been standing on top of the roof and shouting about going mobile for the last 3 to 4 years. There has definitely been a significant trend in that direction. People are very actively looking. I don't have to go into a business right now and talk about why they should go mobile, which is what 80% of my conversation was maybe 18 months back. Today it's all about how can I make money on mobile, and I think till we figure that out, and not in a it's still going to be a nagging pain. And also businesses, the last point that I want to make is businesses also are trying to build mobile first products. So it's not just about building an Instagram. So if you take publishers for that matter, because we have a few, a lot of them are exploring the whole idea of creating curated apps focused on a certain genre. That's something that's very exciting because, for example, if Sachin Tendulkar finally decided to retire and you have a lot of content around Sachin Tendulkar for the last 20 years, you can just put an iPhone app only on that and all the Sachin guys will download it for maybe paying 99 cents. That's a new monetization opportunity. That's a mobile first product from a offline traditional business. So that's something else that you should also keep in mind.
Thank you, Sharat. Venki, what are your... Okay.
Wow, that's dark.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on it, especially around monetization? Because it all finally boils down to, can we make money out of it?
Right. So before I go to the monetization part, let me talk about a little bit on the technology to just extend what Sharat was saying.
Sure.
So yeah, what he said about devices is a complete different paradigm because it's more personal. So you need to make sure that the mobile version of your web application is very, very different. The second thing is that so the whole thing kind of centers around the user experience. And in user experience, what we have found is that, and this is something that I read recently, that when we download apps, we use it for the first time. If we don't like the user experience, we never ever use it, or we delete the app immediately right after that. So more than 95% of the apps don't cut the, our own internal benchmark that we set for ourselves. So that's the first thing. So what we have done is, as part of a technology, solution that we use to address our customers' requirements, we have come up with a methodology called PSL. That's prioritize, simplify, and leverage. What prioritize means is basically look at the website, figure out which are the specific components of that you need to put on the mobile. It could be the most frequently used ones or the most critical ones or whatever. The second part is simplify. Create a very, very simple interface, very intuitive, easy to use, because people who are using the mobile phone expect that level of intuitiveness and simplified user experience. And the third part is the leverage, which is to address what Sharat was talking about, the plethora of devices. You need to make sure you have the right libraries in place, that you don't have to build the same app for all devices separately. You just need to build it once, or maybe and try to address as many devices as possible. The second part, in addition to the user experience, is how are you going to really deploy these apps? And I'll talk about it more from the enterprise standpoint as opposed to the consumer apps. And the key challenge here is, like I was saying, the CIO is the critical person there who's kind of taking these apps and getting them deployed, and that's what will lead to monetization. To facilitate that deployment, first thing was, like I said, if you are writing towards a set of APIs, middle layer, as opposed to developing the app from scratch, that can definitely help. The second thing is, typically the CIOs would look for, in the era of BYOD, they will look for a unified solution that addresses the mobile device management, mobile application management, all put into one single solution. So this kind of leads to the concept of the enterprise app store server. And that's what the back end for pretty much the APIs through which the enterprise systems are exposed. So to enhance the monetization, as long as you write towards this, work towards putting all this, integrating it towards an enterprise app store kind of a solution, that's what will really help to increase the monetization.
Thanks, Venki. And Bipin, you mentioned early on that mobile-first companies have to think about monetization from the word go. Do you really believe there's money to be made in it, and how should they approach this problem?
There is definitely money to be made. I mean, we are making it. We get millions of dollars of revenue just from mobile every month. And Indian user is now migrating from entertainment and social networking towards mobile commerce. And this is a trend, it's a mega trend that is happening right now. People who are shopping on any e-commerce site today, that's what I said earlier. Tomorrow they'll be shopping in the same site's app or somebody else's app. And this is a reality. Nobody can, do anything about it. I would respectfully disagree with what Vikram said about SMS and USSDs and the other channels, because I think that, those mediums and channels have been there for the last, 7-8 years, if not more. But at least we haven't seen any large-scale companies coming out and innovating, with respect to those channels. And my personal view is that the reason that doesn't happen is that those channels do not necessarily or have not yet allowed monetization to happen. in a big way. Whereas in the app world, monetization is relatively easier. Right? Every single app user that you know, he belongs to a certain socio-economic classification, which we call SEC, and then he belongs to the young group, and so there is a strong likelihood that you can create a system that will, monetize well. And we were able to do that. I mean, we were able to latch on to a need, a use case. And this is the other thing. So there are really only two things which are important, right, for monetization. First is you need to get the product right. And when I say the product right, it doesn't have to be hi-fi, or it doesn't have to be, you don't have to copy the products which are out there in the West, many of which are actually fairly complicated, if you ask me, for the Indian user. You have to create very, very simple experiences for the Indian user. And the reason I'm saying this is because, in the Western audiences have actually migrated from PC and laptop to mobile. So they already had ways of, for example, making payments using credit cards. Or they have been exposed to Amazon for more than 10 years and eBay for 10 years. In India, that has not happened. We get users every month who are, in their life, they are doing their first digital transaction ever. And they are doing it on a smartphone.
Yeah, totally agree with you. The ecosystem in India and abroad and other countries actually is very different. Yeah. So the idea is to focus on the Indian ecosystem and develop applications around
so
it.
The other point I was making was about the use case, right? It's very, very important. In order to monetize well, it's important to latch onto a use case which is all pervasive and really, very large. It is, you can make apps for fun to do small things, but that's not going to be a real business. It has to be something which the Indian user really wants to do on his mobile.
True. I'd like to open the floor for questions. So important to remember that shopping is always fun, but paying for it is not fun. So the process for checkout, the process for payment has to be made as seamless as possible. And that is what we keep trying to do at PayPal. So do we have
just
time
to extend to that, in addition to the PayPal, one other thing that you have on the mobile is the telecom operator. They have a very, very well established billing system, so you can pay using them. Today they are also starved for additional lines of revenue. If this can be one means by which they can expose their billing systems and you can build apps towards that, that can be the other channel to make the payments.
Thank you. Do we have time? Okay, we're totally out of time. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, entrepreneurs, for making this happen. Our panelists will be around for the rest of the day, and you can also reach out to them on the Twitter feed. It is MPC 2030. Thank you.